Hello my friends, in today's video we will take a look at Tokina ATX-M 11-18mm f2.8x for Fujifilm X mount. Some of you might remember that back in the DSLR days, Tokina used to make a very solid and affordable APS-C 11-16mm f2.8. The new ATX-M is in a lot of ways a spiritual successor of that lens. It gives crop system users an option to have a very solid, bright and yet compact ultra-wide zoom without breaking the bank. In this video we will take a look at the performance of 11-18mm ATX-M in combination with a very demanding sensor in Fujifilm X-H2. 11-18mm focal range gives you a full frame equivalent of 16.5 to 27mm. That means that it goes from ultra-wide to wide focal range. At 11mm, it is wide enough for pretty dramatic landscape and cityscape shots. 18mm on the long end is a great all-round or walk-around focal length for documentary, travel photography and photojournalism. Importantly, this focal range is combined with a bright f2.8 aperture, which is very useful in the low light, and it even offers some degree of subject separation. Importantly, it also combines that focal range and aperture with 74.4mm length and diameter and also 320 gram weight. That makes it extremely compact. It is obviously very well balanced on the X-H2, but it will also be a great match for smaller X-mount cameras, including the X-M5. It is fully collapsed at the long end, which may not be a bad thing at this focal range. The construction is mostly plastic with some metal parts, but I can still say that it feels solid, probably as solid as it can get at 320 grams. A plastic lens hood is included in the box and it is relatively shallow since it is an ultra-wide lens. The quality is okay and it has a nice texture on the outside. It uses a 67mm filter thread, which is one of the most common diameters, so getting any type of filter shouldn't be an issue. The controls are quite simple, there is just the zoom ring and focusing ring. It uses focus by wire system of course, so it is completely smooth and also very light. The zoom ring is extremely smooth and very consistent, I like it a lot. As I mentioned, this lens is fully collapsed at the long end. So how about the image quality? As always, I have tested this lens with a 40 megapixel sensor in X-H2, which is one of the most demanding sensors on the market. At 11mm, the central sharpness is excellent right from wide open at f2.8. There is a little bit of chromatic aberration, but the image is very sharp with excellent contrast, so I am very happy about that. That chromatic aberration is gone at f4, where we can see excellent image quality in every way. f5.6 and f8 look the same, and there is visible diffraction at f11. The corners are a bit soft at f2.8, but considering the size and the focal length, I have actually expected much worse. The sharpness and contrast increases at f4 and we can see very solid corner sharpness at f5.6 and f8. Some diffraction is again visible at f11. Moving to the middle of the focal range at about 14.5mm, the sharpness is again great in the center of the frame from f2.8, and there is not much room for improvement, so it basically stays the same until f8. There is again some diffraction at f11. The corners are again a bit soft at f2.8 and f4, but from f5.6 you can get really good corner sharpness. f8 is also very solid and there is some diffraction at f11. Finally, at 18mm, the central sharpness is once again very solid from f2.8 to f8. There is some visible diffraction at f11. The corners are pretty soft at f2.8 and f4, but f5.6 and f8 are pretty good. f11 is actually pretty solid as well. To sum up, I am happy with the optical quality. Considering that the sensor in the X-H2 is extremely demanding and this is a very small and light ultra-wide lens, it is a lot better than I expected. Importantly, you are always getting excellent image quality in the center of the frame from f2.8 to f11. If you stop down to f5.6, you will also get very solid image quality in the corners. In real-world use, when you are not examining corners at 400% magnification, you will get very nice pictures with plenty of detail, nice colors and plenty of contrast. The profile corrections are available in the Lightroom and it uses them a lot. There is a lot of barrel distortion at 11mm, which neutralizes in the middle of the zoom range and turns into pincushion distortion at the long end. The profile corrections will take care of it, but it will cost you some corner sharpness. There is also a lot of vignetting, especially at the wide end. I would say that the profile corrections are actually overcorrecting it a little bit. The background separation is what you would expect. At the long end at f2.8 you can get some subject separation and the rendering is quite solid thanks to 9 aperture blades. At wider angles you won't get that much separation. The autofocus is certainly one of the big questions, and the good news is that it will not limit the autofocus performance of Fujifilm cameras, meaning that it is as good as with first-party lenses. The motor is very fast and completely silent. The video autofocus on Fuji cameras is still not perfect, but as I have said, this lens won't be the limiting factor. At these angles, the autofocus also isn't that difficult of a task. There is some amount of focus breathing, but considering the size and the focal range, I would say that this is a very reasonable amount. It also appears to be parfocal, meaning that it can keep the focus as you are zooming in and out. I don't know whether it is achieved optically or digitally, but it doesn't really matter. 11-18mm ATX is not stabilized, but the in-body image stabilization in the X-H2 works great at these focal lengths. You can get 1 second exposures with no issues at the wide end, which makes it very suitable for low-light photography. It also works great for video. To sum up, Tokina ATX-M 11-18mm F2.8X is a very worthy addition to the X-mount system. It offers a useful ultra-wide to wide focal range and bright aperture in a very light and compact package. You will always get great image quality in the center of the frame, and if you stop down to f4 or f5.6, you will also get solid image quality in the corners. The build quality is as good as it gets at 320 grams. Importantly, the autofocus is as good as with Fujifilm lenses. Also worth mentioning is weather sealing and parfocal design. Last but not least, the price is very reasonable. I also like that it offers different focal range than Fujifilm's ultra-wide lenses. If you are looking for a very solid ultra-wide zoom for your X-mount camera, I can definitely recommend this one. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.